Once upon a time, in the awesome town of branding and advertising, there lived two brands, Ogilvy and Saatchi. Like most brands, they started their lives as rather tiny ideas in the minds of their parents. Who would have thought these two small ideas would grow up to be so big and strong? Saatchi was a unique brand filled with life and joy. In fact, his sole purpose was to spread his love and fill the world with love marks. He was something of a romantic. Ogilvy, on the other hand, was first of his kind, the first to think about the value that brands and branding have. Recently, he became complacent with the standing in brand society and was beginning to fade into the background. The truth was, if you wanted a campaign that got people to fall in love with you as a brand, Saatchi was your brand man. If you wanted a standard campaign that made only a few friends along the way, then Ogilvy was the right choice. This was because Saatchi understood his brands, but more importantly, he understood his world. He knew that in order to be noticed, he had to do something worth noticing. Ogilvy had grown a big head and didn't really listen to what his brands had to say. His relationships were hollow and shallow. Ogilvy and Saatchi's parents tried to prepare them for the weird, wild and wacky world by leaving them with a few words of advice about being a healthy brand and how to become one through brand leadership in the town of branding and advertising. These were: do what you love, find a meaningful purpose and follow through. Keep your promise, stay honest, be yourself and be different. Listen, learn, connect. Leave the world better than you found it. Make a difference. Choose your friends wisely. And remember, money isn't everything. Armed with this advice, the two brands enrolled at Leadership and Management School for aspiring brands that are awesome, or LAMSFABTA for short. At LAMSFABTA, the brands are taught the difference between led and managed brands, and the place these ideas had in the branding world. In their last year of study, the brands were asked to take their final examination. The purpose of this exam was to find out the extent to which they, as brands, were led or managed. The brands were assessed on the criteria from Acker's and Joachimstoller's brand management versus brand leadership model. Saatchi was by far more strategic and visionary than Ogilvy. This was attributed to the age of Ogilvy, who was much older than Saatchi. Now, age itself is not a bad thing. Age does not cause brands to die. What does kill brands, however, is its inability to reinvent itself as it gets older. Ogilvy lacked a strong differentiated image, other than his size and power. There was no real substantial difference between him and the next guy. Ogilvy had also spread himself too thin and was having a problem keeping it all together. He was trying to be too many different things to too many different people. After the test, it was clear that Saatchi was far more in line with Acker's brand leadership model than Ogilvy. Ogilvy was managed brand and Saatchi was led. One day, Ogilvy and Saatchi were having a heated argument about the existence of healthy brands. Ogilvy argued that they couldn't possibly exist. He explained that the idea was too idealistic and impossible to attain. He said that no brand was ever created not to make money. In fact, money couldn't help but be a major driving factor for any brand, even those NGO guys. People were responsible for creating brands, and if people weren't perfect and made mistakes, then so could brands. Saatchi did not disagree with what Ogilvy had said about brands being 100% healthy. He agreed that they did not exist. He did, however, believe that some brands were healthier than others, and that there should be a measurement of sorts to separate the good apples from the bad. Ogilvy and Saatchi lay awake in their beds that night, somewhere in the awesome town of branding and advertising. They reflected on their lives as brands and what they had learned thus far. They thought about how they could be better leaders so that they could become healthier brands, and whether a healthy brand was even something that could be done. Ogilvy turned to Saatchi as he reached for the light switch. "Good night," he said.